Chris, you're down by 41 and nearly come back and pinch it in the end. How do you sum it up?
Well, yeah, in the end we got the shots. If you want to start with the end first, yeah, we got the shots. We gave ourselves a chance to win. It was that's the positive. So many things were going against us in that game. It would have been easy to kind of turn your toes up and sort of say, well, it's not our night, and you end up losing by 50 or 60 points. But we really had a chance to win. You know, a few things had have gone our way, then we might have snuck over the line. I'm not sure how I'd be assessing it if that had have been the case. But I think if you go back to the start, sometimes you can look at those sort of games and you focus too much on what you're not doing, and don't give enough credit to the opposition. Like, I just thought they were, like, so forget all the cliches that you hear from commentators that don't know what they're talking about around intensity. I just thought they were clean. I thought we couldn't get the ball forward enough, but when we did, they were able to bounce it out really quickly. And it's obvious to everyone that, you know, their kicking skills at this venue are at a really high level. So you need to have enough pressure on them to create a little bit of doubt. But it wasn't just their kicking skills early, and we knew that was the threat in the game. It was their ability to sort of work their way, you know, out of any sort of pressure, and give themselves, you know, good looks. And I think everyone that actually spends some time on the game knows that virtually every team in the comp are going to have patches where they're really hot, and it was unfortunate for us that we just weren't able to slow that down for long enough, you know, and early enough to get the game played a bit more our way. And we saw what it looked like a bit later, but just a bit too late, unfortunately.
Was there an intensity issue potentially in the first quarter? Is that something that stands out to you?
I mean, if you want to be one of those guys, I'd suggest you don't, because I just think maybe I'll watch it and I'll come back and say, oh, yeah, possibly. And you could sort of ask the question, well, was the intensity high later in the game when we were coming back? Well, possibly. I mean, we were watching it. We didn't even think, you know, there's some structural changes we needed to make which give them a little bit more of what they want, but you have to change it because we just weren't getting the ball inside 50. But it's rare you do this because you too tend to focus so much on yourself, but I just thought, well, it wasn't Harlem Globetrotter stuff, but I thought they were just so good early. If you want to be glass half full, you say, well, that's a product of your lack of intensity and pressure that allowed them to play that way. We didn't see it that way.
So what did change for you then? I know you like Jeremy Cameron up on the wing, Woodside up. Was it those structural things, or did the Saints drop off a bit? You know, how did things change?
No, it's hard to tell whether I'm going to get that mozzie at some point. I mean, you might ask Ross, and he might tell you a little bit more, but the structural stuff, like you could see some of the things, but I just, win, lose or draw, I tend not to elaborate on what we do and why we did it. But if you highlight sort of their team, like with their kicking skills in particular, you know, Sinclair and Malera behind the ball are obviously really important to them. And look, even ahead of the ball, I just thought, you know, they really took their chances. And I guess, so I would point to more specific things other than, you know, intensity. We were under the pump early, but I can't remember Tyson Stengel missing a set shot from 30 out right in front, and that sort of steadies you a little bit and sort of changes the game. And even early, the first 15, 20 minutes, like, we had the shots, missed ours, they took theirs. But I think, again, that speaks to, I just thought they looked like a really highly skilled outfit tonight. And yet, I bring up the two guys behind the ball because that's obvious to everyone, but I thought it was across the board. I thought, yeah. And then you sit back and you go, maybe Adelaide is really hot. You know, it wasn't so much, you know, the Saints last week.
How positively do you look at the fact that you said they were brilliant? You guys weren't quite executing in the first half, and you still only walked away 7-point
Yeah, and more than just getting within 7 points, having a genuine chance to win. There's a few sort of line ball situations that, in close games like that, you need a little bit of luck. But no, the part that I admire is that, our guys, even if they don't genuinely believe they can win, they hang in, don't give up. Would have been an easy game to sort of give up and go through the motions a little bit because, again, it's like you can sort of point to certain things and go, it would have been nice if Bailey Smith had to come up, and then it's not going well, and then Tom Stewart's out of the game, and it's like you can sort of think, woe is us, and just not our night. But I admire the fact that they didn't do that.
How do you assess the battle between Windhager and Max Holmes, who moved into half forward after quarter time? How do you sort of see that pan out?
Oh, we did for a little bit, not for long. I thought Max was really impactful getting us back into the game, particularly in the second half. I thought sort of that, for a game where we were being soundly beaten, you sort of look at it and think Jack Henry was outstanding, Blitzars was very good, Dangerfield made a big difference, Holmes was good in the second half, with a tight tag. Windhager's a good young player. I'd probably assess it as, a good battle.
What is the prognosis for Tom Stewart?
Their first impression is that it's minor.
Was it impact when he hit the turf?
Yeah.
And Bailey Smith, a chance for next week?
Yeah, but I'm very close this week. I'm led to believe it was more kind of I think, like, if you were to describe our system when it comes to these things, like if they're a chance to play, we give them as long as possible and then tend to be conservative unless they're absolutely right. And the conservative nature of the decision making suggests to me that he'll be right next week, but again, I'm probably the wrong person to ask. I'm just parroting what I've been told.
Ted Closey was very busy after he came on, so he made a bit of a case to have a look in the 22 next week.
Yeah, Ted was really good. We thought probably left him out. He was one of those that had a real impact for us. It was good to see. Like, and even I should be really careful with my language here, because sometimes when you lose a game, it can sound like it's not an excuse, but you're trying to sort of highlight the positives out of what was in large parts a poor performance. But Ted's a group of players that, without Dangerfield in the midfield and without Stewart there, we were it was almost an under-23 midfield, which is exciting for us. So again, I don't say that to say, how could you expect any more from us? We've got high standards when it comes to those guys, and we're playing them because we think they're our best bet in there. But, Ted, Mitch Nevitt, Jai Clark, Sam De Koning, Max Holmes, add Bailey in there is 23. That is a bit exciting for us. But every team that's got some inexperience in certain parts of the game, you just have to accept that it's going to ebb and flow a little bit. Now, you can't accept that forever. At some point, they've got to find some consistency. But again, I thought they kept fighting even when they were being outplayed.
Dangerfield didn't touch the footy till very end of the first quarter. How do you go weighing that up, the forward mid-split?
Yeah, well, it's a bit the same as Cameron as well. We weren't. It's hard for him to get the ball when he's in the forward line. The ball's not going there. So that was a logical change for us, and he made a huge difference. But it's a bit more complicated than this, but not much. It's kind of like, if we're getting the ball to him, he'll play forward, and if we're not, likely we'll bring him up the ground.
I asked the intensity question because Fremantle folded in the last quarter last week, and it looked like a bit of a walk in the park in that final quarter. Do you think the start of home and away seasons are becoming increasingly volatile? The team's preparation is really different now.
Yeah, they are. I mean, we run a strange competition. So there's a pre-finals bye, and 10 teams miss the finals, and then they have up to 5 weeks longer than the teams that play in the grand final. But they're not allowed to start training earlier. You only have a couple of match practice games, which I like. I mean, I would have even less if it were up to me. And what it can result in is like a situation where you're not sure what you're going to get from your own team, much less others. And you combine it with, really early starts when the grounds are in good shape, the weather's good, the ball pings around. I mean, it always happens here. And clearly, we don't play here very often. The game is played differently, and we haven't adjusted well enough. So again, I hope I didn't sound like I was biting your head off. it's easy to say, oh, our intensity wasn't good enough. We didn't play the conditions well enough, and they look like Marvel experts the way they handled the ball and used it, and we kind of fumbled under mild pressure, you know, in perfect conditions. That's the bit that's more real for us. Like it was almost the opposite of a lack of effort. It was almost a bit too rushed and too eager. But yeah, to elaborate on the start of the year, I mean, there is a strong argument to say it's good for the AFL because it is volatile is the right word, but it's a bit hard to describe. But my view is that the closer it is, the more it kind of highlights little inequities that you'll get week to week. So if a team misses 2 or 3 of their best players, or you know, a key forward and a key back, you know, I don't mean tall necessarily, but vital players, then that can be a huge swing when everyone's so tight. It used to be that some teams were just so much better than the opposition that take 4 of the best players out and they'll still be fine. It doesn't work that way anymore. And then that's just an example. There are other little inequities as well. Thanks.